What weight, Connor, are you going to do? I'm going to do 170, as you know. I'm
love
a big
that.
boy, a lot bigger than before. Okay, well, we're going to offer you this opponent. Yes, no problem, I accept. Day after day after day. No problem. We'll send the contract. Excellent. It's a great matchup. That's a great matchup. That's a great matchup. It's all you ever heard about out of me. And no contract came. And that's kind of where I'm at. Still here in this limbo. I know my manager is out there in Las Vegas on Monday, face-to-face meeting. I hope a respectable offer comes through. I'm notoriously good to deal with. I'm an honest man. I admire fairness. I'm sure we can get it done. And there you go. I assume the vibes I'm getting, and I don't mind it at all, is the BMF contest, which is on this week, a rematch between Holloway and Oliveira. Maybe it's me and that for the next one. So we will see. You know, it's all taken.
Was as the fight progressed into the later rounds, could Max Holloway find a way to get a finish, because he clearly needed one? The answer to that, of course, was no. Charles Oliveira, Do Bronx, is the BMF champion of the world, and he made it look easy.
That was complete domination, Michael. I thought coming into this fight, there was going to be moments where Max was in trouble, moments where he might be on the fence, might be on his back, but I didn't think it was going to be 25 minutes. We've never seen Max dominated like that. Charles looked possessed out there. He walked Max down, got his back to the fence, and with these awkward takedowns, it wasn't fundamental traditional wrestling. He just powered him to the ground with hip tosses, body locks, and Max had no answer for the takedowns.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we talked about leading up to this fight, and Charles just executed all the X's and O's that we said that he would need to do in order to become the BMF champion tonight. He did all those things. He marched forward. He landed the more significant, powerful strikes throughout the fight. He was aggressive like we knew he would need to do, and that strength was on display.
The gate tonight was $8.3 million. Attendance 19,480. It was sold out. 4 performance of the night bonuses: Bellato, Montez, Rodriguez, and Dober.
Dana, dominant work from Charles Oliveira, but maybe not exactly the fight the crowd was anticipating or looking for. What were your thoughts on the way the main event played out?
I don't know if anybody was expecting that. I mean, the way he body locked him and took him down so easily and absolutely dominated him on the ground. I thought there'd be a lot more stand up, and I thought that Max would do a better job at defending the takedown. And if he got on the ground, he'd at least pop up a couple, 3 times during the round, but total domination.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the goal of the sport is to win fights, right? But when it's a BMF title fight, do you feel like there's a unwritten rule that you got to fight a little bit differently, that you got to make it a stand-up war and not have a grappling-based approach?
Well, I think you'll have those type of guys, but the goal at the end of the day in every fight is to win. So he did exactly what he needed to do to win. And I think probably, you'll have to ask Max, but in training camp they're probably expecting, if you've seen Charles fight, he's not afraid to go toe-to-toe, stand up, and, they obviously really believed that if they took him down to the ground, tonight would happen.
Bro, I got 10 text messages going. That tells you how great Ilia Topuria is. Because he went through him
like a knife through butter. I mean, we're talking about a generational talent in that guy. I mean, I love the fact that Oliveira called for a fight at the White House. Please find the man a dance partner. Yeah. But who?
I don't know who.
But who?
Well,
who other than Topuria, right? Topuria is busy with Gaethje.
Yeah.
Who?
Well, right. Armand Sarkian is not going to fight him in a rematch.
So Armand would not fight him for the second time. Why?
Well, he would if they gave it to him.
Well, when you seem to be about to get a title fight, why fight this dude?
Yeah. Well,
because it's a BMF title fight. But I mean, could you really set that up? I mean, Sarukian's been out for so long. It's been so much controversy around him. He just got in a brawl at a wrestling match.
He's crazy,
man.
Sometimes, I ask you about Conor McGregor, and it doesn't happen, but it does seem like the situation is there, that it's possible. Is that something that is even on your mind? Do you think about that? What is your reaction to even just the name Conor McGregor when he throws out there BMF, 170 pounds? Is that even on your radar on a night like this?
For real, I won the title. I won that lightweight belt, and that's what I want. Listen, I did what I needed to do. I got it. That's what I want to do, and I tell people this. Let Diego figure this out, okay? But if it's maybe for something or maybe for the money, we'll do it. I think he wants it more than I do right now, doesn't he?
That was complete domination, Michael. I thought coming into this fight, there was going to be moments where Max was in trouble, moments where he might be on the fence, might be on his back, but I didn't think it was going to be 25 minutes. We've never seen Max dominated like that. Charles looked possessed out there. He walked Max down, got his back to the fence, and with these awkward takedowns, it wasn't fundamental traditional wrestling. He just powered him to the ground with hip tosses, body locks, and Max had no answer for the takedowns.
Oliveira dominates Max Holloway by decision. Not the most fun fight to watch. For the first, here's what I'll say about this. A lot of people are saying, why aren't you crashing out the way you were against Chimaev and Makhachev? Because JDM's one of my favorite fighters. Duplessis is one of my favorite fighters. So seeing it happen to them hurt more. I also think Oliveira's wasn't as bad as theirs. At all. Because for the first 2 rounds, he was fucking destroying Holloway on the ground. Out grappling him into every spot. Get into positions where he nearly had the rear naked choke on so many occasions. Nearly had the arm triangle at one point on Holloway. Smashing him with elbows from top position. Smashing him with elbows from the back as well. Like, he really did go for, like, a lot of damage in the first 2 rounds. But in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you were thinking to yourself, this is for the BMF belt, and you're laying there in half guard on top. Damage him. You know? So I'll see both. I'll see both of this. Even though I was correct, Holloway can't grapple.
The clash between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira is now in the history books, but before the cage doors closed, the fight world had already split in two. Analysts, veterans, and former champions rushed in with bold predictions, each convinced they had solved the riddle behind this stylistic showdown. Now that the result is finally clear, it is time to revisit those claims and see which survived the truth and which quietly fell apart. Michael Bisping believed everything would come down to position. In his mind, if Max Holloway wanted victory, he had to stay moving, cutting angles and refusing to be trapped along the fence, because that was where Charles Oliveira became most dangerous. If Oliveira pushed forward with sudden power, locked the body, or forced the takedown, the momentum could shift instantly. And if the fight reached the canvas, the danger would multiply. The moment it touched the ground, the fight would change completely. The octagon would stop belonging to both men. It would become Oliveira's world, where every scramble hides a submission, every grip threatens the finish, and every second pulls the opponent deeper into a trap few fighters ever escape once Oliveira truly takes control inside his world.
Okay, so the game plan for Max Holloway is going to not allow himself to be pushed up against the fence. If you saw the co-main event last week with Marlon Vera and Daniel Martinez, Marlon was trying to swing, but Martinez was using beautiful footwork to kind of avoid those swarms and those bombs from Chito Vera, right? Of course, Chito cut the cage off in the 3rd round and was able to do some damage, right? That's what Charles Oliveira is going to have to do here, because Max Holloway isn't going to be running, because he's not that type of guy. He believes in himself, but he will cut angles, he will use educated and intelligent footwork, and he will stay out of harm's way. Charles Oliveira wants to walk forward with a blitz and then get a hold of you with a body lock, drag you down, jump on your back, get a takedown, single leg, whatever it is. And then from there, he goes to work, and you're in his world. And that's not where anyone wants to be.
Continuing his assessment, Bisping eventually favored Holloway. He admitted that while Oliveira stayed threatening with submissions, he considered Holloway stronger on the striking. In his evaluation, Holloway's quicker fists, sharper combinations, and superior awareness of spacing inside the cage would gradually seize control of the encounter. Because of this, Bisping anticipated Holloway would steadily dismantle Oliveira and claim a stoppage near the 4th round.
Doesn't matter who you are. Max Holloway can defend the submission. Of course he can. Max Holloway can do submissions as well. And I'm not saying that Max Holloway can't drop him and get a rear naked choke like George St. Pierre did to me, right? When you get dropped, your equilibrium is rocked and you don't know what's going on. However, I do think that Charles Oliveira will struggle. I do think Max Holloway is the better puncher. I do think he has faster hands. I think he has better striking in general, better ringsmanship, better craftsmanship, better understanding of the geography inside the octagon, and the straight shots that Max predominantly throws will keep Charles Oliveira at bay, and Max Holloway will slowly start to take over the longer the fight goes. So I got Max Holloway getting a stoppage around round 4. Now, I could be wrong. I often am.
Chael Sonnen took a sharply different stance, making a daring call in favor of Oliveira. He admitted it was an unusual position for him, pointing out that across his years of predictions, he had almost never backed Oliveira and seldom wagered against Holloway. Yet Sonnen insisted the crucial factor most observers ignored was Oliveira's mastery in controlling the bout through wrestling. He argued that trading strikes with Holloway for 5 full rounds would be a grueling test for anyone, but Oliveira didn't have to engage in that brutal exchange. In Sonnen's view, just a handful of perfectly timed takedowns throughout the fight could dominate individual rounds, shift momentum on the scorecards, and ultimately hand Oliveira the decisive advantage, leaving Holloway scrambling to regain any foothold. Each calculated move could quietly tilt the contest, turning what seemed like a conventional battle into a tense, unpredictable chess match inside the octagon, where one misstep might allow Oliveira to seize the fight entirely, making the difference between victory and a hard-fought loss.
And my official prediction, you want it? Charles Oliveira. The first time in my distinguished career of putting the hex on somebody, I'm putting it on Charles. I have never picked Charles Oliveira in a fight, ever. I have never picked against Max. And how is Charles going to do it? Let me tell you one thing that nobody's considering. Look, if you end up stuck on your feet with Max Holloway for 25 minutes, that is going to be miserable. But Charles doesn't have to. And let's just say it does turn into a grappling contest. If Charles gets on top of Max, Charles is likely to have some good minutes. He's likely to be able to keep him there. And I don't think that this is a ground and pound situation or this turns into a big ground contest. If he can just steal, right, in 5 rounds, if he can steal 3 takedowns, he can win those rounds, likely.
While Tim Welch had hailed Oliveira as one of the most thrilling fighters to witness, citing his lethal jiu-jitsu guard and extensive, battle-hardened UFC tenure, he still ultimately leaned toward Holloway. Welch reasoned that Holloway's deep experience in 5-round clashes, relentless movement from distance, and skill in controlling the fight's tempo over extended exchanges would enable him to systematically wear down his opponent and secure a decision. He also emphasized Holloway's unshakable mental resilience and sharp octagon awareness as critical elements that could see him through the fight's most punishing stretches, turning moments that might have crushed lesser fighters into opportunities to dominate and subtly shift momentum in his favor, keeping the outcome hanging on a knife's edge until the final bell.
Bronx, one of my favorite fighters to watch. This dude's my favorite fighter to watch. Fucking sick. One of the best jiu-jitsu guards in the game. He's been around for a long ass time. Been in the UFC since 2010, 16 years been in the UFC. Taking on Max Bless. Another one who's been in the UFC. This is a good BMF fight. Max Bless got in the UFC when he was 4-0. He had four professional wins. He was back in the UFC. He made his debut against Dustin Poirier, UFC 143, when Nate Diaz fought Carlos Condit, for the real OGs that know it out there. When he made his debut. We got 2 vets going at it, 5 rounds. I think Max Bless get it done. Max Bless is so good at in these 5-round fights. He's so good at staying busy from the outside. He's so good at pacing himself for 5 rounds. His fight IQ is so good when he hurts people. He doesn't throw all his chips in. Max Bless gets it done.
Tom Aspinall viewed the matchup through a different lens. He admitted Holloway held the edge in pure striking, yet he pointed out that Oliveira's stand-up had evolved considerably. More crucially, his mindset had hardened with experience, giving him a mental edge in high-pressure moments. Aspinall expected Oliveira to steer the battle toward the mat, where his threat level escalated dramatically, and he foresaw a handful of pivotal grappling exchanges tipping the scales. In those moments, Oliveira's precision and control could quietly dismantle Holloway's strategy, allowing him to seize critical rounds, shift momentum, and ultimately emerge victorious, turning the contest into a suspenseful struggle that favored the fighter who mastered the ground game when it mattered most.
I think that Holloway's a little bit of a better striker. That being said, I think Oliveira's striking has improved a lot, and he's something that I think he's done is his mentality has improved a lot over the years. I think now he's much more willing to exchange. The thing is, Oliveira is much more dangerous on the ground. I think this fight will end up in a couple of grappling exchanges, and I think that Oliveira will win the grappling exchanges. So in my opinion, I think right now, I think that
Espanyol projected that the contest would gradually swing toward Oliveira as the fight unfolded. He anticipated Holloway to start strong on the feet, landing crisp, accurate strikes, yet he believed Oliveira would endure the early pressure, quietly advancing, and ultimately assert control through his grappling. Espanyol envisioned a decisive moment where Oliveira would execute a perfectly timed takedown, turning the tide of the bout and culminating in a third-round submission, highlighting the Brazilian's calculated patience and lethal skill on the mat, transforming what began as a striking battle into a tense, suspenseful struggle dominated by ground mastery.
I think it's going to be later in the fight. I think Oliveira's going to take a little bit of a beating first, get peppered a little bit with some punches, but then sooner or later he's going to walk him down. He's going to get him to the floor and he's going to submit him in round 3. My verdict is Oliveira submission round.
While MMA Guru went fully behind Oliveira, he understood why many favored Holloway given his enhanced striking power, yet he believed Oliveira could withstand the initial onslaught and methodically advance. Reflecting on previous performances, he contrasted Holloway's victories over declining opponents with Oliveira's dominance over a fighter at his prime, noting that Oliveira had finished Gaethje in the very first round at the height of his career. For Guru, that combination of precise grappling and lethal finishing capacity made Oliveira the clear pick in this matchup, the fighter whose patience and skill could quietly turn the tide, forcing Holloway into uncomfortable positions and ultimately seizing control when it mattered most.
I've got Charles Do frickin' Bronx. That's what I've got. I've got Charles Do Bronx over Max Holloway. And I understand how the Holloway picks arise. Okay, because I feel like I'm alone on this Oliveira hill that I'm going for here. But I think Oliveira is going to be able to take the shots from Holloway and walk through him. I do. I know Holloway's improved on his power, and in round 3 against a Korean zombie who was really old and past his prime to say the very least, and in his retirement fight, Holloway...
Adding on, he outlined a scenario in which Holloway could find early success, landing sharp strikes and briefly testing Oliveira's defense. He likened it to Holloway's prior bouts, observing that while Holloway possessed the power to stagger opponents at 155, he doubted he could finish Oliveira swiftly or earn the same level of early dominance. Guru stressed that Oliveira, though vulnerable in short bursts, as seen in the Game Ramrod fight, adjusts and shifts his strategy at critical moments, transforming into a far greater threat as the contest wears on, turning initial pressure into opportunities to seize control and dictate the fight's unfolding narrative.